Well, thank you very much, Sean, and good afternoon to committee, and welcome to the very first meeting of the Development Property Committee for 2022. I look forward to working with each and every one of you as we move through 2022, and hopefully in not too distant future we'll be able to meet in person and get this COVID under our belts. I would like at this point in time, on behalf of our committee, extend to our Evelyn Van Starkenburg our deepest sympathies and condolences as a result of the loss of her father. Evelyn is the rock or the glue that keeps our group together, so our sympathies are with her and the family at this point in time. With that, I'll call this meeting to order, and I will read the land acknowledgement as we gather this afternoon. I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. With that, we go on to item 2, and that's roll call. Roll call, Connie, has been taken.
Through you, Chair to committee, yes, roll call has been taken.
Thank you. I'll ask, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any of the matters before us this afternoon? Seeing none, adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on November the 8th, 2021. Any errors or omissions to those minutes as distributed? Seeing none, then I need a motion to approve the minutes, please. Mover and a seconder. I've got a very small screen. I can't see anybody. Connie, all I see is your name across my screen. I think as Jeb and Dan have moved and seconded these minutes. All in favor? I can't see the vote, to be honest with you. Can you give me a full screen of everyone who's there?
It's actually your setting, Chair. If you click on your view setting up in your top right corner, you should be able to click gallery view.
Top right corner. All I get is you, Greg.
You don't want me.
No, it is a button that says view up top.
Oh, right, the view.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
Click on view and hit gallery, sir.
Full screen. Still nothing.
Should say that gallery, should say speaker, gallery, full screen.
Nope. I'll go back to that. Thank you. So we'll go then approval and adoption of the minutes of November the 8th. I believe it was Dan and Jeb that moved and seconded those minutes. I'll call for the vote. There's no errors or omissions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. No delegations at this point in time. Then we'll go on to item number 7 of our agenda, the departmental report. Craig, if you will, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. Happy New Year, everyone. So it seems a little bit like Groundhog Day, but here we are again in 2022. I'm starting on page 4 is my report, Director's report for the department. Item number 1 is a residential market activity as shared with us. We like to share this as we get it. Of note, is the active listings in all of Renfrew County currently at the end of December is only about 115 units. So you can imagine a county of our size with only 115 active sales, active homes or units for sale, which is quite incredible. Of note, the numbers are, 2020 and 21 were very strong. Average price went down slightly, 3% over year. But as you can see, the market is incredibly busy and anecdotally is continuing that way. And the prices don't look to be leveling out anytime soon as the county remains a popular place for us to visit. Committee, in my conversation with the chair, we discussed item number 2, the resolution of the budget, and have felt that we discussed this with committee, that we go through the entirety of the report today and come back to the budget. So we table item number 2 for discussion after we go through the departmental reports, division reports, to come back to that. So I'll leave it to the chair to get common consensus. And if so, then we'll move on to the completion of my report and then on to economic development. Chair, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, would you be comfortable going through the whole report, then come back to the budget? That would give us a little bit more time, perhaps, to discuss that rather than get bogged down at this point in time. Just give me a thumbs up, and we can go from there. Yeah, that's consensus, Craig. So with that, continue.
So that will be my report, just that one item, and I'll my report will be held until we do item number 2, and you can move on to item number 3, which is the economic development report.
Thank you. So any comments or questions on the residential market activity report? It is a tricky situation for sure. None? Okay, then we'll continue on with economic development, I believe. Page 21.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, committee. Information economic development item 1 is just that we're working on or considering an application for funding to support the Algonquin Trail. It's from the Commemorate Canada Reopening Fund. Item number 2 is regarding some correspondence received by the warden. It's attached as Appendix ED1, which is on the following page 23. It's an email received by Warden Robinson from Alan Wren in his role as chair of the Pembroke Area Airport Commission in November. And summing up the letter, Mr. Wren is highlighting the importance of the airport to the community and to the business community here, residents and business community. It is an important and unique asset. And he's seeking a letter of support from the county for the airport and its activities and its potential as an economic generator. And certainly it would be easy for us to draft such a letter for a committee or chair or warden. And again, it is an exciting site. It's a lot of land area, and we do, as economic development for the County of Renfrew, present that site to site selectors who are expressed interest in that kind of lands. It's not that often, really, but it's, again, a large area of land. We all remember Expo 150, and that land plus the airport enclosed lands as well. So for committee's information, a request there for a letter of support from the Pembroke Area Airport Commission. Item 3 is under resolutions, and it's regarding the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities. And I have a recommendation there, Chair, and I can read that and go into the background. Is that okay? Or
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So that recommendation, the Development Property Committee recommend that County Council approve the membership of the County of Renfrew in the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities. And further, that this membership will support and inform the economic and business development efforts of the County of Renfrew and member municipalities in the area of nuclear science and the many other fields of science and technology, research and development being carried out at Chalk River Laboratories. And just a bit of background is there are a number of municipalities across Canada, most in Ontario, but also some in Saskatchewan and Manitoba that host nuclear facilities, and including uranium mining and processing facilities. So the membership is rather small. It is a group very focused on being informed and aware of and supporting the Canadian nuclear industry. And we have some exciting developments, of course, always ongoing at Chalk River Labs, and the news now about the new research facilities, the pending construction of a small modular reactor there, world-leading technology to be demonstrated there. In economic development, we feel it's probably an appropriate time for the county, as well as the town of Deep River, which is already a member, but for the entire county to be represented on this association. Chair, that is the economic development report.
Okay, information item number 1. Any comments? As always, anything we can get funding-wise for that to complete the trail would be pretty special. So that's just an information item. Any comments? Item number 2. Let me just, okay, Jeb, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add to Alistair's comments. I sit on the Pembroke Area Airport Commission, and we had met with County Council. Oh my goodness, it must have been 3 or 4 years ago. I gave a presentation, but as a result of that, they have been speaking with John Yakubuski and been trying to get some federal support. And one of the big things was that in order to get any kind of support from the feds or from the province, that the county would have to provide or should provide some sort of formal letter saying that they are in support of it. And that was, sort of the main intent of this. So in order to move forward, if a letter of support that could be written, it would certainly be greatly appreciated for the airport. It'll certainly support the Department of National Defense, and also CNL, which is starting to use, or some of the folks flying in have been landing at the Pembroke Area Airport. So anyways, I just thought I'd add that to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments on that? Dan, and then Craig. Dan, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I support the request, but at the same time, we have a second airport called the Arnprior Airport. If we could do the letter for the same thing, we're in support of the Department of National Defense, Hydro, and everyone else. And we have a business community, which, SSI has now bought a 5-acre chunk. So we're bringing telecommunications into the town. So just whatever's good for one airport is good for the other one. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, go ahead, Craig.
I was just trying to help you out in terms of formalizing a recommendation that's not on the written here. It would be a recommend to County Council that the warden can be authorized to send a letter of support for the Pembroke Area Airport, and if so desired, the Arnprior Airport as well, and just leave it as simple as that. And we would draft that, but it would be committee to council for to direct the warden to be under her signature.
Okay, thank you for that. Just by way of information, so that committee is aware of it, the land that you keep talking about, that Expo 150, for example, was put on. It was available for development at the airport, but for whatever reason, many years ago, it was zoned in such a manner that any development on it had to be for air-related use. In other words, you could put a hangar on there, or you could put a business on there that fixed wings or parachutes or whatever it might be. In our mind in Ottawa was a little restrictive, and it was changed as part of our new zoning bylaw to permit business development on that land. We withdrew that airport use only designation, so that in actual fact it could be utilized, within an application to the town, as far as that's concerned. I thought we always did support the airport and on everything that we did. Alistair, perhaps you could advise us of that. I know that any information that you get or promote anything as far as Renfrew County, both airports are featured as far as that is concerned. Is that correct?
Yes, and we do, and to Councillor Lynch's point, yeah, we do whenever it's called for. We do reference very specifically both airports. It's not necessarily always that often, but sometimes there are specific inquiries, and often it's as a general point of interest. We mention that we have airports because there are recreational flyers, individual investors, business owners, new residents. So, yeah, the airports both are very important. They're harder and harder to find municipal or regional airports now. So we're very fortunate to have these two airports, and the growth potential is certainly there. We've not really, for many years now, and I could have to look back, actually done any formal written letter of support. And it seems that there's an ask for a letter for a very specific reason initially in this case.
Well, this is a letter potentially so that any flow of funds that may be available, they could apply for and refer to these letters of support. Is that as I understand that, Jeb? Is that the thought process behind this? Jeb?
Yeah, yes, that is correct. There was some talk, or actually when we met had a meeting with County Council, and I guess that was before Dan, before your time, Dan, was when your predecessor was in there, when that presentation was made, and then they've tried other avenues of getting some additional support to help with the province and the feds. And they're at that point now where John Yakubuski has said, in order to move forward, we're going to have to get some formal letter of support from the county to, just basically to state that, we are, you're definitely in favor of the airport. So, and that's all this was. It was a letter of support so we could move, so the airport could move forward and hopefully talk to the federal and or provincial governments.
Thank you for that. So Craig, what is it you want from us?
I'd be asking for clarification on a recommendation from committee to council for direction for the warden to sign a letter.
So you need a
motion.
A motion moved and seconded by this committee to recommend to county council. Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. Jab, seconded by Dan, and I think Connie, you've got the general gist of that request.
You, Chair. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so having said that, I need to call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed of any? It is carried. There we go. Okay, item number 3, there's the recommendation. I need to move in a second if you're comfortable with this recommendation to move this forward. You move in a second there. Sheldon, seconded by Jeb. Any discussion on this? Dan?
Thank you, Chair. At the inauguration meeting, we were appointed to the CNL committee, I guess they're called. I haven't reached out to them to say who's the chair of that committee, but we're on it. Does that mean that if we approve this, that I'll be the guy that's going to be representing us on this committee?
I'll need to defer to Paul on that one, but I think that would be in the hands of the warden, I would think, as far as striking it. Is it asking for someone to be sitting on that, or is it just to be a membership, similar like to OGRA or to be like Roma or anything like that? Perhaps you could clarify that. Alistair?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, to committee through you, Chair. Yeah, talking to the executive directors, it is typically a head of council. So for the county, it would be the warden. Typically, the other communities is typically the mayor and sometimes another municipal leader. But typically, the key member representing the municipality is the head of council.
Or that could be a delegate,
designated.
delegated by the head of council. Is that correct? Paul, did I see your hand up? Paul?
Yes, sir. I believe the appointment under the strike committee is the environmental committee that members of council have been appointed to. I would ask Alistair just maybe to connect with Pat Quinn to confirm meeting dates and get back to those folks that were appointed under the striking committee, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll leave it up to staff, the warden, to figure this out. But I think the general thrust is that we would like someone, or the county would like to be involved in this and take it from there. Jeb?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I believe that's what it's for, the Environmental Stewardship Committee, where there's meetings with CNL. They're the main proponents of it, but there's folks from Ottawa River keepers, folks from all over the place that have an interest in it. Cheryl Gallant is there on occasion. So, and I also get an invite because being the mayor of the town of Laurentian Hills. And but yeah, for the county, it would certainly be to tie into the Environmental Stewardship Committee. Thank you.
And tell me, is this different from the group that I go to a dinner with or get invited up there with all of the group from CNL, and I think it's from the Association of Host Municipalities. Is that the same group, or is it something different?
No.
Can I clarify, Chair?
Yes.
So two different things. The
Okay.
Environmental Stewardship Committee is a Chalk River Laboratory CNL specific committee on environmental issues, and that's county council rep. The Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities is a Canada-wide association. That's the one we're seeking the approval or the recommendation for membership, and it would have the town of Deep River as a member, and certainly they do invite other municipal leaders sometimes to their sessions or special meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So we'll leave it at that point. First of all, I got to call for the vote on this to see if we're all in favor of that. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Then I'll leave it up to staff and the warden to figure out how you want to handle that as far as the person who's going to be involved with that. Okay. With that, we'll go on to the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association report. Alistair.
Thanks, Chair, and that's page 24. And we are keeping the report light per the budget discussions required today, committee. Lots has gone on. We're just hitting a few high points for you in all areas. Information item 1 is about our 2022 and marketing literature, our social media website promotions. And we're developed as print continues to decline in acceptance from the traveling public. A smaller format, a more concise tourism listing and Ottawa Valley roadmap flyer is being developed. It's going very well. And just an interesting aspect is this year, with the optimism that we're beginning to see in our tourism sector for especially the summer high season. Now, Omicron is playing hard on the winter. We may not have enough ad space. So we're very cheered by the strong positive response from our tourism industry for our roadmap. And item number 2 is, again, a good sign. Membership growth in OVTA has grown over the past couple of years despite COVID. and it's exciting because we have many new business operators in our tourism sector. And I mentioned that we're now at 254 members. It's actually 262 members in the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. So it's an optimistic first look at 2022 from tourism and the OVTA committee. Thanks, Chair. That's the OVTA report.
Sure. Comments on item number 1. Item number 2, it's that's significant when you take a look at that. That's about a 15% growth rate on membership, which is with COVID the way it is. I think that's great. I know it's a free membership at this point in time, but nonetheless, people are coming on board and a little bit of confidence in tourism through the OVTA. So, any comments on 2? Thank you. Then we'll go on to Enterprise Renfrew County.
Thanks, Chair. And I'll add, because I was just talking to another tourism operator, and we expect 2 more listings and memberships, in fact, from one longstanding business and one fairly new tourism business that their family operates. Enterprise Renfrew County, information item 1, and it's page 25. Just an update that our third quarter reports are going to be submitted soon as we wrap up. Come close to wrapping up our fiscal year with the province at the end of March. On Starter Company Plus, which is a very effective, very successful program we deliver in collaboration with the province of Ontario, through some judicious management of funding, we have a little bit of extra money, some slippage, if you will. So we're doing an additional round of funding to further support some of our previously successful businesses who participate in Starter Company Plus program. So we're very excited to be able to give a little bit more support before the end of March to a number of other companies that have started business and are continuing to operate through COVID. Chair, that's the ERC report.
Thank you. Information item number 1. Any comments or questions on item number 1? Seeing none, item number 2. Seeing none, thank you for that. Then we'll go to Forestry and GIS. Who's speaking to that? Jason. There you go, Jason.
Chair, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Found on page 26 is the Forestry and GIS report. First item for information is the activity tracker or the biannual activity tracker for the county forester and the forestry and trail technician positions. And just to highlight, again, I think I've talked about this a number of times, where the forestry and trail technicians' time is being mostly completed by or on trails. So you'll notice that 6% of Anthony Hobbs' time is dedicated to forest management, and staff is looking to make sure we can balance that approach to ensure that we have adequate focus on the forestry aspect of his time that's not being put on forestry because of the input of trails. Item number 1B is just a good update over the 2022 forest operations summary of the bid results. You'll see in the committee package found on page 27, we did issue five tenders for 2022. It looks like we'll be receiving, based on the estimated volumes, of about $300,000 in timber revenue for 2022. So it's good news. I do want to highlight, though, one of the forest tenders, the Ruby Tract, we did not issue the submission from the one company just because of the lower market value that they've submitted. So you'll notice that also in the community package. The Beachbird Tract, we are very much engaged with the trail organizations that use the Beachbird Tract. We're engaged with Whitewater Region also to make sure they're aware of this larger operations, around 40 hectares in size. So we want to make sure everyone's aware. Lots of public use of this tract. So keep that in mind, and we'll keep that in mind when we move forward. Chair, moving to page 27, like I said, item number 1C is just the comments submitted by the county forester regarding the province's proposed regulation that would temporarily suspend the protection for black ash. As you can see on the letter that Lacey supplied to the province on pages 28 to 30, that we're very much in favor of this suspension. Give them time to review the possible resolutions for the protection of black ash. Even during county, this COVID restrictions that we're having in 2021, the county forestry staff, specifically Lacey Rose, continues with her outreach and education goals for the forest industry. And she has committed herself for a number of activities, including the Global Classroom, which is an online with 3 high school classes, bringing in some college students to an active operation, and also participated in the Renfrew County's District School Board's Dream Makers virtual panel event for female students to gain exposure to non-traditional career choices for women. So we'll keep continuing to do this even during the COVID restrictions and into 2022. Now, last item in the report, Chair, is just the activity tracker, the biannual activity tracker for the GIS staff. As you can see on page 31, GIS staff worked on a total of 671 GIS projects during those months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jason. We'll go back to the beginning of the report. Item number 1, forestry activities 1A. Any comments or questions on that portion of the report? Seeing none. Item 1B. Lots of money coming in, and that goes into reserves. For what purpose, Jason?
Chair, through you to a committee. So any monies over the budgeted $180,000 at the direction from County Council will go into reserves for future either purchases and through purchases of land or county forests, or purchases of vehicles and things like that due to expenses for the county forestry division.
Okay. And we have something in the future that we are looking at, or is it just sitting in some tree planting, or is there anything that we're thought of at this point in time? Is there something that we're looking at?
Through you, Chair, again to committee. So the reserves are earmarked for tree regeneration programs for sure. When and where we have information, there could be a potential county purchase of lands for a county forest. We'll review that and bring to committee for review. So that reserve goes to a number of different items.
Okay. Any questions on 1B? Kathy.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Jason. I just want to ask Jason, while that is being harvested at the Borca area and the Beach Park, is that completely off limits as it's being harvested, and or what happens when that's done?
Through you, Chair, if I may, to answer the councillor question. So when the operations are in place, there'll be signs in place, and it is an active operation. It's a harvest operation, lots of danger involved, so it will be off limits. Okay,
I figured that. I just wanted to be 100% certain. Thank you. And do we know exactly when that might be beginning? Any idea?
Through you, Chair, they're available to go into the operations, I do believe, starting right now in January. But they'll give us some advance notice before that starts, and we'll then give the municipalities and the trails organizations advance notice too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further on 1B. 1C. I think 1D, and again, to Lacey, she's a jewel in the crown, so to speak, of the forestry industry. There's no question about that. And works tirelessly and is passionate about forestry. It's nice to see that outreach into the schools and the younger generation as they come forward. As we're always conscious of succession planning and interest in these various programs. So hats off to Lacey for doing that. Anything on 1D beyond that? Then item number 2, the GIS. Okay, seeing none, then we will go on to real estate. Or real property, page 32.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, committee.
Afternoon.
Page 32 is the real estate report, and information item number 1. There's an attached appendix outlining the current projects underway, and some have, as you can see in the chart, some have been completed, some are in progress, and some are in review. And item number 2 is an appendix attached is the budget pertaining to those projects. Going on to item number 3, we have a staffing update. Janet Porter, a super technical services, she tendered her resignation, and her last day with the county was December 21st. And we wish her well in her new endeavors. She's been with the Renfrew County for a little over 8 years. She'll be missed. And again, we wish her well in her future endeavors. Item number 4 is pertaining again to the staffing update. We have filled that position, and we've recruited Erica Admansky. She'll be joining our team on January 31st. And we look forward to working with Erica. It's going to be a busy year in 2022 with a lot of projects coming down the pipe. And that is the real estate report, Chair.
Thank you, Kevin. Go back to item number 1, the project update. Any comments or questions, concerns about the portion of the report? Seeing none. Capital and capital under threshold projects. Any comments? Seeing none. Staffing. Well, again, all the very best to Janet. She was a good employee that we had, and we wish her work, as you've said, Kevin. Any comments on number 3? Item number 4, staffing update. Well, welcome, and I think, will we see this young person at the next meeting? Will you bring her on so that we can, on the screen, for the next DMP meeting in February?
We could do that, Chair, yes.
Sure, it'd be nice to say hi and recognize this young lady. Any comments on number 4? Okay, so then with that, we'll go to the last portion of this report before we go back to the is planning. And who's speaking to planning? Bruce, how are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. Thank you very much. So you'll see the planning report is on, I believe, page 35 of the committee's package, and information number 1 is a staffing update, much like the real property. And so I'm happy to announce and introduce you to Laura Jameson, who I believe is on the call with us today, so she might be able to turn on her camera and say hi to everybody. So she's the successful applicant for the junior planner competition that we held. And Laura started her employment with us on January 4th, and we already have her working on general inquiry responses, but mostly she's going to be working very intensely with the zoning bylaw update projects, which is also talking about further on later on the committee package. So we just wanted to welcome Laura, and she started under very unique circumstances. So obviously her first day coming to the office was when we were supposed to be on lockdown. So just want to recognize the she's coming in on very different circumstances, and we're happy to have her, and she's fitting in quite well.
Well, Laura, welcome to the team. Welcome aboard. It's nice to see that big smile. There you go. Big smile again. Welcome. Did you want to say hi?
Thank you so much.
Pardon me?
I said thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's good to have you on the team. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy your stay with us here. And I know Bruce will just work you to the bone. Anyway,
Yeah,
a very busy
no
department.
shortage of work, so
Yeah,
I'm
there you
sure I'll
go.
get lots of stuff done.
Yeah, I'm sure. Any comments on item number 1, folks? Oh, pardon me, Dan, sorry.
Just that we miss you, Laura, the darn prior.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, we should have gone through the whole report, but I couldn't miss recognizing that smile there. So go ahead, Bruce, with your report.
Thank you, Chair. So number 2 is again the biannual activity tracker for just essentially it's also a year-end update. We also went through it in November, so I'll go through it just quickly. But just in the second paragraph, you'll note that we're essentially doubled our applications for consent applications from 2020, and pretty much doubled our lots that have been created and applied for. So back in 2021, 783 new lots received draft or final approval, and that's compared to 391 in 2020. So we're very busy. So Laura being here is going to definitely help with us keeping on track with some of our applications. And we also have Alex Benzie, who's going to be starting with us in February. So we're very excited that they're here to give us some help and be able to process some of these applications and get development approved in Renfrew County. And since this activity tracker was put together, I can provide you another update. So since this time has been done, we've received another new application in Arnprior, which hasn't been shown on this chart. We've received, we're anticipating receiving another planned subdivision application within the next 2 months within Greater Madawaska. We have the Petawawa Town Center site, which we are anticipating hoping getting that draft approved by the end of this month. And it's getting closer, but the Jameson subdivision also in the town of Petawawa is inching closer to final approval. So hopefully we'll have some more lots getting some waterfront development in Petawawa. So as you can see, we've been very busy and we're excited to have the new staffing complement to make sure we stay on track with these files that were coming in. And number 3 is just an update on the comprehensive zoning bylaw project. So again, this is something that Laura is going to be working quite heavily with. So 9 municipalities have requested that the county prepare an update to their local comprehensive zoning bylaws. And these updates again are required because of official plan number 31 has been approved. So the 12 municipalities that utilize the county official plan as their official plan, they have 3 years to update their zoning bylaws. And we've undertaken to do 9 of these projects with the local municipalities. And we've tried and broke it down to 3 different groups. And we're trying to undertake 3 projects per year for 3 years to get under that timeline. So we've already started working on the first cohort, which is Bonshire Valley, Killuhaga Richards, and North Algona Wilberforce. The second group we hope to get to is Madawaska Valley, Lurchin Hills, and Amundsen Bromley. And then the third one would be Horton, Brudenell, Linddock, Raglan, and then McNabb, Braeside. And so we came up with this order based on sort of our own internal knowledge of the municipalities who have the greatest need. We looked at what the bylaws were in place and sort of ranked them as who needs to have these projects undertaken quicker than the other ones. And this is sort of how the ranking that we came up with and to get these projects done in a efficient and timely manner. Thank you, Chair. That's the report.
Thank you. We'll go back to the beginning. We did talk about number 1, and again, welcome to Laura. Any comments on 1 beyond what we have already talked about? Seeing none. Planning activity tracker. 2021 was a very busy year. Obviously, in Arnprior, they're on fire down there, and but it's nice to see that growth coming up. But not only in the 2 bigger areas that have traditionally been the areas that have been growing, but in other areas. And I'm sure the whole county is in a building mode or a growth mode. When I listen to some of the reports, it's nice to see that coming on stream. One of the big challenges, of course, is trying to get the commodities to put in and start building those facilities and the costs of materials and manpower, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, we're doing our part here to move these files ahead. So I know you're going to be very, very busy, Bruce, over the next little while. So keep your staff busy down there, and I'm sure you will. So it's nice to see that happen. Any comments on the activity tracker? And the zoning bylaw, yeah, it's nice. You're going to complete cohort number 1 before you start on 2, or it all depends how far down you get with cohort 1, or is this a 9-year odyssey type of thing? 3 years, 3 years, 3 years type of deal? I'm just curious, if you get through one quicker than another, you start on somebody else, that type of thing. Is that how you plan to put that down? I know that's a crystal ball thing, but can you give committee any idea how you see this all rolling out?
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, that would be ideal situation would be if we complete 1. Obviously, they're not all 3 of them going to be complete at the exact same time or be able to meet on the same schedule, be based on individual projects and unique circumstances that might come up. So I would like to try to keep at least 3 always going, so that if one project does complete quicker than another one, that we would start that next one into that next cohort. So we anticipate keeping 3 going and rolling along as we can.
And the big thing obviously was the OP 31 that made that happen and moved that forward. So without that wouldn't have taken place. So it's nice to see that taking place because of that going forward. And I know from my experience, a lot of public input, a lot of public meetings, a lot of staff time. It's a very busy process to go through. So I know your department's going to be busy, Bruce. Any comments on item number 3? Okay. So where are we now?
Budget time, sir.
Pardon me?
Back to the front.
Back to number 2,
2.
and then we'll go through that, then we'll go and do the closed session.
Yes, please.
Okay, well, let's go back to number 2 on the department report. Craig, over to you.
Thank you. I'm just going to share, if you can see that. So let me just get that going here a bit. So I just thought I'd give a 10,000 foot level approach to what we're going to be talking to today. And the managers, of course, will talk about their respective divisions. But overall in 2022, departmental wise, we're now at a full staffing complement with of course, Laura coming on board and planning, which was our new planner to enhance that department. We've got Alex Benzie, of course, starting in February, and Erica starting late January. We've got a couple of retirements coming up this spring that we'll deal with. So, departmental wise, it's a bit of a moving target, but we're hoping to keep our staff up to the levels we're now used to with OBTA fully staffed. So it's quite the time with retirements, and the wave is coming as we knew that Mr. Pine suggested years ago when we were talking about this. So the second point is an aged item, I guess, if you want to call it that. We talked about a climate action plan several years ago, and we started down this road, and then we had a number of hiccups, including pandemics that's happened since then, and overall reduction of our footprint in Pembroke as we brought people into our building. So now's the time to look at this climate action plan once again. The one little caveat that we've discovered over the course of the last few years in the climate action plan was the county can't go at it alone. It must and should and has to require all municipalities within the envelope of the county, so all 17. And I would endeavor to say that Pikwakanagan and the city of Pembroke should also be included in those conversations to develop a county-wide action plan. The municipalities are the ones that own the rinks and the large facilities. We don't, and those are big contributors to greenhouse gases and emissions. So this is a conversation we'll have to have as we move forward in the climate action plan, should we move forward with it, and look at some of the examples of our partners, including Lanark County, who just completed that. So again, it's on our radar to complete a climate action plan and explore funding to help us out to do that. And of course, work with the Algonquins of Ontario to push the land claim along further. There are still issues outstanding with some of the county forests and some of those conversations that have been happening, but anxious to continue that. In the planning division, and Bruce will speak to this as well, new staff members, as already discussed. A review of fees will be coming up in February and this spring about our fees, as we discussed during our planning service delivery review. Would be reviewing our fees and are we charging too much, too little, and what opportunities exist. Bruce has already just addressed the comprehensive zoning bylaw, so that's going to take a lot of work. And of course, maintaining our turnaround for general inquiries and files, of course, as mandated and as desired. So with a new staff member on board, we're hoping to maintain our constant good level of service that we offer in the planning division. The list is longer, it seems, for Jason and his Forestry, Trails, and GIS division because of 3 portfolios. The harvest goals, of course, are being met this year, and that's hats off to Lacey and to Anthony and Jason on that. That's great. Again, we've talked about Beach Road Tract. It's a public relations opportunity, and Jason, I'm sure, is as he discussed as well, is already on top of that and how to deal with the user groups in Beachburg. We're readying future cuts. Just because we get through 1 year of harvesting, we're again beefing up our marking, our tree marking in 2022, and looking forward to future cuts and future growth to ride the need and desire for timber in this area. We're understanding that the succession planning, people are getting out of logging and switching to different traditional methods of work. So it's creating some issues, but we're anxious to keep our forests healthy, and by keeping them healthy is to keep them marked and ready for harvest in the future. The aged gypsy moth term, LDD moth infestation, is obviously ongoing, and then we're hearing birch bark disease and a few other things. So keeping on top of that. The Algonquin Trail, and later the KMP Trail, looking to add more stone dust and adding the MTO stone dust, if you will, to further sections up north of Petawawa and continue that growth of the Algonquin Trail. We've already done a huge section already, and we're looking to celebrate that and promote it. Complete, and first of all, we also looking to complete the purchase of the Algonquin Trail and actually get that off the books, and that requires some cooperation with the province and their desire, or our desire, to use a compiled plan approach as opposed to spending hundreds of thousands on actual on the ground survey work. So we're working with the MPP and the ministers on that over the course of the next little while, and have been, and we'll bring it up again at Roma later this month. Of course, we talked about KMP. We're getting closer to completion of the KMP for stone dust, and we'll add a little more this year and over the next couple of years with our funding and with provincial funding that we have been granted. And of course, you've heard of discussions with Lanark and Frontenac counties on expansion of the KMP that will essentially allow the KMP to exist all the way from Renfrew all the way down to Kingston. So a big project on the books that will be a partner with those two counties as we move forward. The second to last point is something that you won't see in the budget, but will come out over the conversation with our digital strategy that Mr. Foss is leading, and will likely be talked about more into March and April. Is a strategy for GIS mapping, if you will, that will have an enterprise license approach that will allow more users and more uptake from the municipalities to do more as a broader group. I won't say for cheaper, but a more efficient approach to licensing and user fees to access the mapping. So Jason will be working on an updated GIS strategy over the next little while, and bringing this integrated approach to committee in the next couple of months. And of course, support planning with their comprehensive zoning bylaws. Mapping is a big part of that planning division work, and Angie and Jason have already been hard at work with that. On the real estate division, of course, the reconciliation garden, we have gone out with a request for proposal approach last fall, late last winter, or in December. We're just in the midst of reviewing those activities or those proposals, and we'll bring a report later this year, probably into February's report, as it wasn't completed for January. On the housing side, now that real estate and DP is in charge of the bricks and mortar for our CHC, with our folks, our friends in community services, we are starting the review of the RFPs. At least that's out for the new units being designed for Lee Street in Pembroke. So we'll be working on that. Now that scope of that budget is in our CHC, not necessarily Kevin's budget today, but that's part of his works that we'll be doing. We're looking at doing an emergency services storage facility at Renfrew County Place. So that's another big project that we're considering for this year. And then Kevin will be reviewing with myself and new staff all the real estate holdings across the county to determine next steps for those lands, whether they be surplus or not. And Alistair, and he'll speak to some of these, but overall, continuing support of the COVID-19 activities that we've been working on, looking at bringing back the task force and surveys. Of course, we got thrown a wrinkle a couple of weeks ago with the lockdown, so we're working on that and enhancing our marketing efforts this year to bring back tourism and bring back some of those activities. Along with COVID-19 stressors, was the workforce is completely annihilated. You can get a job anywhere if you're willing to work, it would seem, from Tim Hortons all the way to KI or to Roseburg MDF. I mean, the jobs are out there. So we'll be working with our small and large businesses to try to attract a new workforce to this area. We're on the books for this year was an ECDEV and Tourism Summit later this year in spring and summer with conditions as they would exist at that time. Like we did a few years ago in Eganville, is bring together the players, the recruiters, the businesses, and the politicians together to move forward on new initiatives in economic development and tourism. Of course, we've heard the Ontario Winter Games have been postponed, so we're looking for new dates in winter of 2023. So that will take up a large amount of time this year, and an ongoing start of summer company and work to be done there, as Alistair already spoke about. And some new updated tourism and economic development websites are also on the book for 2022 to update us to where we should be now. So with that, Chair, I'll point committee's attention. I'll start off a little bit with page number 7 of your committee package, which is our overall review of the fund. The numbers are a bit different this year. We've got some grant opportunities that we've made some headway on, especially on the trail, several hundreds of thousands of dollars there that will throw our numbers in and around. And while I can speak to it when we get down to the end, perhaps after we hear from the divisions, Mr. Foss will overview some of the more intricate details of where we are, where you'll see a variance of 1.2%. It is and it isn't because of some of the grants that we have flowing in and out. I'm not going to talk about the budget pressures because we'll deal with those on a general level. But again, as gone over, there are some pressures this year, and I know the managers have a keen eye to get a lot completed this year with the budget given, and I just may as well just dig right into it on page number 8, which will be Mr. Raditz's portion. I'll help him out as this is Kevin's first year in budget. Kevin, I'll help you out a little bit. Your budget is what it is. You can speak to it. I'll just point to a couple of things that have fallen on my lap. Is the $125,000 budget pressure about 3/4 of the way down. Those are as we've done it before. The budget pressures are numbers or projects that we've put aside that we don't currently have the budget room to do those projects with, and we've left it to committee to decide how and if we are to pay for them and to make those recommendations to move forward. So the miscellaneous building is $20,000, actually halfway down. I may as well hit that since it's on that pressure. Is a storage container. We're out of actually storage in our new facility at County Administration Building, and that will cause some stressor. So we're looking at a large storage container. And the special projects number 125 further down the page is made up of $100,000 dedicated towards the reconciliation garden and $25,000 towards the climate action plan. Paul, I'll pause for a moment. When I was speaking, I did see a note from Councillor Reinwald go up, meaning we do not have quorum at this moment. So I'm not sure if we want to pause discussion or just go with discussion and go from there. I'm not really sure how you want to continue, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Chair. I think that's the decision of Chair Sweet. Did he want to take a few minute break, or did you like the conversation to continue, noting we don't
help you here, John. Jeb has left the meeting.
Yes, he's just sent a note saying he had to leave for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Well, I think in fairness to everybody, I think we have to have a break for that length of time to bring it back into the quorum situation. So I think we'll have a 15-minute break and then come back once Jeb is coming on. If he comes on a little bit sooner, perhaps we can begin the budget deliberations again. But up until that point in time, I had a question, but I'll wait until we have the quorum before we get into that. Okay. So we'll break for the 15 minutes. Well, thank you very much, Sean, and welcome back, everyone. With that, back to you, Craig, for the budget process.
Thank you, Chair. So I think where we left off was I just had finished discussing the budget pressures on page number 8 of the two items, or at least 3 items that make up the 2 budgeted amounts. Then I'll turn it to Mr. Raditz to go through the property budget, if you will, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, where are you? There you go. Kevin, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. As Craig mentioned earlier, this was my first experience with a budget for the county of Renfrew, and which started, I guess, back in November. And of course, both Mr. Kelly and Mr. Foss were a big help in this process. So I appreciate their support and help. So when we look at the budget for the real estate, as Craig had mentioned about the two pressures, one for the containers. So we're talking about a storage here at the cab building, and then of course reconciliation garden. If we go down to page 16 on the capital items, we'll start with, I'll kind of just highlight some of the major projects that are being proposed for 2022. Here at the cab building, we have a budget of $150K. That is to replace the soffit here in the exterior of the building. Then I guess the next project at Renfrew County Place, it's a $200K project, and that is pertaining to a paramedic shelter or storage. They're considering and building a building to put their winterize their vehicles for both vehicles and any equipment they have. So they were significant 2 large projects. And then also at the Renfrew County Place, we have $150K budgeted for replacement of HVAC equipment. Our intent there is to do it in 2 phases. Phase 1 would be this year, where we are replacing 3 units, and phase 2 next year in 2023, we would replace the other 3 rooftop units. And the reason we're replacing them, they're at the end of their life cycle. So that's why we have that project in the books for 2022. And so I think that's it for kind of the larger projects. If you would like me to elaborate on any of the other smaller projects.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the big capital ones. Questions on the capital ones from members of committee. So the soffits that you're replacing is on the building at International Drive. Is that part of the modernization situation, or not? I it seemed to have spent a lot of money with the building, and now we're spending some other money that's going on the tax rate. Is that as I understand it?
That's correct. We are planning that for 2022. Perhaps Craig could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Through you, Chair, and to you. Yeah. So the main project, the SDIP, if you will, the renovation project that kept the county administration building, did not include the soffits. That was out of the scope of what we were trying to accomplish with our modernization funds to bring people into the building. Throughout the course of construction, of course, if you go through the building, we did note it. These are the old wooden tongue and groove soffits that are on the building, and they are starting to show age, 1992, 93. So we will look at replacing or renewing those wooden soffits with another or a similar product as we move forward. But it did show up at a building condition assessment report we had done probably about 3-4 years ago. But it did fall out of the scope of what we were trying to accomplish with the integration project that we did over the last couple of years.
Okay.
And it just sorry, and I just want to clarify one point. It does not come out of the tax levy. It's coming out of the building reserve, and Mr. Foss will determine where that comes from, but that's coming out of the capital reserve because it is over our threshold amount to fall under the capital reserve dollars, not the tax levy dollars.
So it's an in and out thing?
It'd be well, yes. Essentially, we come out of reserves and we
Expense on one side, the revenue on the other side.
Essentially,
Reserves. Is that what I? Okay. All right. Questions, Jeb?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Craig or Ken. So this is just it's really a maintenance thing. It's been, over the years, the wood is starting to rot, so we're just going to be replacing it with a substitute or something of the like. Am I correct in hearing what I just heard?
Yeah, sure, Kevin, I can help out. Sure, I think that's what Kevin's plan was. Well, that was the plan originally, was to replace that. We've got some insulation issues as well in the soffits. In any given spring, when the ice is melting, the damming is coming. The ice dams and the large icicles that are about 13 feet long are developing underneath that soffit. So we just have to renew that and review that.
Okay, Kevin, did I see your hand up? No. Okay. Further questions? Help me with the storage situation. There's $20,000 on the storage thing that we're now spending because we've run out of stores or room on. Who's going to speak to that one?
I can speak to that, Chair. Yeah, so we have discussed that. We've had some lengthy discussions about this proposal. We definitely can definitely use some additional storage space. Of course, we do have a garage here, as you're aware, here at the cab building, but it's pretty well utilized, and there's significant require for additional storage space. And our intent is to, because it's kind of low cost, no maintenance, we're considering one of those sea containers.
Right. Okay. Okay. I'll open it up for further any questions on the capital issues on the property. Okay. None, Craig, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll just add, so if that's a pressure that we believe, and we do, so those, we can come back to that as well. These are pressures that, again, we need to allocate or decide whether we're moving forward with these items that are there. On this one page in particular, there's $145,000 worth of budget pressures that we do not have an outlet to pay for them. And we will be looking for committee for acceptance of these in principle, I guess, at this point at committee level, to push them to council for a revenue stream. And perhaps Jeff could enlighten us on a revenue stream for these items. The storage container is under the $25,000 limit. That's why it's appearing here. But perhaps before we move on, or we could leave it to the end of where these budget pressures are paid for.
Well, let's take a look at the $100,000 one. Is I think a county driven one. Is that not correct?
The reconciliation garden is
Yes.
the county driven one. Yes.
So that's to me is a no brainer. That has to go forward. Am I right? And how do you want to handle this, Paul? Do you want resolutions of this committee, or just a direction to staff to bring it into the budget, or how do you want that done?
Paul's stepped away for a second. Oh, no, he's back. Okay, I'll let him handle.
Sorry about that. I think and I'm looking to Jeff, we had a similar conversation this morning. I don't think so, because we have a resolution already on the floor that would say to accept the budget as presented then. So that would be with the pressures. Jeff, would you agree with that?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Yeah, I would certainly agree with Paul that staff are presenting this committee with a budget, a staff recommended budget, and it contains a couple of items in the budget pressure column. And so for this Development and Property Committee, certainly the $20,000, I'm going to call it a storage box, storage container, not something that certainly is outside of our ability to finance within our target for development and property. But the big one, of course, is this reconciliation garden. And that, of course, is a county council-led project. So unless this committee is wanting to squash that project and remove it, then the resolution does forward it through to the budget workshop to be discussed by all of county council and then voted on. And if in fact, it moves forward, then county council will have to decide, A, do we increase the levy to pay for this? Do we cut some other costs? Do we borrow some money for it? Do we pay for it out of reserves? If in fact they want to go forward, then we'll have to talk about financing at the budget workshop. So totally appropriate to let this stand and then allow it to go forward with this departmental budget.
Okay, there you go. All right,
There you go. Okay.
Dan?
Thank you, Chair. To go back to the sea container, is that what we're talking about the $20,000 for?
Yes.
That's correct, sir.
They're selling them in carp, and I think they're 32 feet by 14 and they're 3,500. Are we getting more than one? Or is this?
That's not the quote we had so far. And then we have to do some site prep on top of that. So that was just a very upper limit, but
Okay.
there's, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Then there'd be delivery charges and probably or whatever, send a truck down, pick it up or whatever. That's to give you a little bit of flexibility as far as the project is bringing it in. I get that. I just get concerned, to be honest with you, that a question will be asked. We just spent a whole bunch of money to renovate the project, and now we're looking for additional space for storage. That's a question that could be brought up. I just make you aware of that. It's like building a school and putting a portable on if you don't have enough room for the students. That type of thing. Anyway, Jeff. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. These sea cans are more of a temporary thing, are they not? Rather than, permanent. I know people who up this who have purchased them and gotten some very good quality sea cans, not brand new, but dropped off at their doorway for $3,500. Now the other people have done their prep work and whatnot, but it was for temporary storage. It was not for permanent storage. So I'm just wondering if this is going to be used for temporary or if the plan is to keep them for a long duration.
Who's going to tackle that one?
I can speak to that,
Adam,
Mr.
there you
Chair. Thank you for that question. At this point, the intent is that it would be a permanent structure. However, the uniqueness about these sea cans, in the event in the future that you needed to relocate them to another site, that makes it somewhat unique. Initially it would be permanent, but there's always that option if we had to move them or utilize them elsewhere. But that's why we consider that a sea can as opposed to an addition to the garage.
Thank you. Okay, so I see Jeb as a follow-up and then Sheldon and then Dan. Okay.
And thank you, Chair, and through you to Kevin. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of these units is that they can be utilized. They're waterproof. They're darn near bulletproof, and they'll last a long, long time. And if the need does not exist in that location anymore, they can be moved someplace else, or they can be sold off. That's what my thoughts were behind that.
Correct.
Fair enough. Thank you, Sheldon and then Dan.
And thank you, Chair. And just a thought to staff is, what about local zoning building requirements? Has that been thought of?
That was the first question we asked. Yes, we are able to put them in. We've checked with the city department.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Well, that was my question because we were part of that land use committee and a guy on a farm wanted to get these things for a permanent structure and the answer was no. But that was a municipality, not us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, it's being handled, I guess. Okay. So that looks as though that's a go. Okay, back to you, Craig.
Yeah, again, I'll just ask Kevin to continue perhaps with just outlining his next items on page 9 and 10 that he's got.
Scroll up to 9 and 10. Just bear with me. Okay. So on pages, yes, 9 and 10, as we scroll down through the different line items, as you can see, we've pretty well held the line on the majority of the items. There's nothing that I see that's a significant concern. Is there something specifically, Craig, that you want me to address, or?
No, I think, no, thanks, through you, Chair. No, not necessarily. You've done well. As you've already mentioned, the bases and Renfrew County Place and the OPP station we are holding the line, or keeping within the 2.5% operational budget. You'll note when we get to that point, however, the revenues are up for the county administration building. We have made significant changes to year over year. Is now we are at full capacity of all business units are now in the county administration building. So the difference in revenues for year over year, that increased profit, if you will, it will be going into the account or the reserve that will pay back the dollars that we spent on the service delivery improvement project or the renovation at the county administration building. So again, while revenues are up, we are again holding the line at 2.5% in that area, but bringing those revenues over to that reserve to pay for the renovation project. You get that right, Jeff? Am I close? Thanks.
Jeff, and then Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. And Craig is exactly right. When we get to the budget workshop, of course, we have we have all of County Council that will receive a presentation where we will review the commitments that we made when we did this redevelopment project. This committee will recall that, you know, our plan is to repay the principal amount that we used to do this renovation through the savings, the efficiency savings that we are gaining in all departments. And as Craig mentioned, there's additional revenue that's coming in the CAB building, the county admin building, because we closed 5 offices and moved all those staff into this building. And so we are saving on those commercial leases. And so that additional revenue that's coming into Craig's department or Kevin's department will be further on down in the budget in the financial area, will be transferred back to the building reserve fund and begin to repay the $4 million that it took for us to finance this entire renovation. So over a 7-year period, we're saving about $470,000 a year, and we will fully repay the money that we borrowed from the reserve fund for this renovation. So just to say, Craig, of course, we have a number of slides that we'll review with all of County Council and explain in detail how that's working, but it certainly looks a little bit dramatic in Craig's department, the tremendous amount of new revenue coming in, but we have plans for that. So Craig doesn't get to keep it necessarily in his department. Thank you.
Just like home, Chair. There you are.
Just like home, yeah. There you go. Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to, I guess, Jeff, the Mr. Money Man. My question was, with all the revenues coming in, what would be the payback on this? And I think you alluded to around 4 years or 4.5 years or something like that. Is that correct?
Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just turning to that in my worksheet now.
I think it was 7, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure it was 7.
Yeah, I'm just I'm a little bit slow. I was in another area here earlier today. So our savings plan, we had a net principal amount that had to be financed after we deducted a number of revenue sources, and committee will recall that we used $725,000 from the municipal modernization fund and a number of other one-time renovation dollars available to us from Ontario Works and childcare. So the principal that we used to renovate the building was about $3.1 million. The first year in 2021, we realized efficiencies of 169,000. And so for 2022, this budget year, right up until 2027, we will have $470,000 of savings. And so by 2028, the principal is fully repaid, and Renfrew County Council gets to enjoy a savings of $470,000, almost 1% of our tax rate, that you can decide how you would like to invest that or what you want to do with those savings after 2028. And so you are correct, Councillor Reinwald, 7 years is the payback. 2028, we are fully paid off and ready to enjoy those savings from that point forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeb.
Just a comment. That 7 years sounds very, very, very reasonable with regards to payback for the amount of work that was performed over the last year or so. So I commend staff for the great work that you've done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So are we finished with Kevin's situation? Where's Kevin?
Yeah, I think we're finished, Chair.
Kevin? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Move on to Mr. Davis, perhaps, as starts on page 11.
Page 11, forestry. There you go.
Well, thanks, Chair. And as Craig mentioned in the intro for this budget review and cycle, that our division is broken up into three parts. So on page 11 is just the forestry portion. And I won't go through line by line item. It is a status quo budget, but just to highlight just 2 or 3 items, under office supplies, you'll see an increase of $2,000. Yes, it's a minimal amount, but if you look at the variances, it is quite large. Again, for an office, a new computer for one of the forestry technician, either Anthony or Lacey. We're still keeping the status quo for the timber revenues of 180,000. And just to keep in mind, these are estimate revenues. When you look through the years from 2020 and beyond, it ranged from a high of 255,000 and in 2019 a low of 97,000. So that's why we average things out for 180,000. Again, it was mentioned about reserves, and so any additional amounts above $180,000 goes into reserves, and we do use the reserves, as you see in the report, under transfers from reserves of $8,100, and that's including that will be including some tree planting, some well remediations for county forests, and also some signage that comes out of the reserve account. So that's what happens when you see that transfers from reserves. Also, just to highlight one other item is tree marking. We've increased that from $6,500 to $11,000. And that's to help with this balancing approach with the county forestry and trail technician position, where the technician position usually marks the trees. And with his time, Anthony Hobbs' time is being more dedicated towards trails, we're using additional funds to contract out the tree marking to help alleviate some of the stressors that the county forester is having throughout the years. So Chair, do you want me to stop at that one?
Any questions on the forestry? Looks pretty all straightforward. Jason will go on to which one you want, trails?
Page 12, Chair, it is trails.
Yep.
Again, not quite the status quo as the other one, but do want to highlight a couple of different things. Some large ticket items, but very explainable. Recoveries, donation in kind of $3.5 million. And Jeff has mentioned this in the past. This has to do with the purchase of the trail. So you may recall that when the county purchased the trail in 2016, it was with a tax receipt and with some cash value. And so hopefully this year we're aiming, as Craig mentioned, we're aiming to finish off the transfer of properties from CP to ourselves. And that a little over $3 million is to do with the tax receipt and the cash. One of the bigger ticket items I have to bring to your attention is the Algonquin Trail development of $946,000. What you see incorporated in that almost $950,000 is our 2.5% baseline from the 248. Plus, you'll see an ICIP grant of $255,000. And as Jeff mentioned, and we mentioned in the past, we have commitments for our tender that we still have a tender from GP Splinter of additional $400,000. So that's why we budgeted for almost $950,000. But we do have a pressure. We still have to complete the trail. We need to complete the trail from Chalk River and beyond to the border of Ottawa. And that's why we have a budget pressure of $2 million. And committee may be aware and remember that back in 2021 in March, committee and county council directed staff to use up to $2 million. And we're spending that money this year. We have spent the money, in 2021, we spent a number of that amount in 2021, but we still have pressures to complete this. And that's why there's a $2 million pressure item to see where these funds may come from if we move forward. And that, Chair, I think I wouldn't mind stopping at the trail divisional budget at that point.
Questions on the trail? Seeing none, let's go on to GIS.
Thank you, Chair. And GIS, like the forestry divisional budget, is quite the status quo, except for one line item is municipal recoveries. As Mr. Bruce Howarth mentioned on his report, that he has a number of planning projects. On top of or combining his planning projects is GIS or mapping support, and we do not contract that out. Sorry, we do provide this service for a fee. So we're expecting some revenues from local municipalities, and also for some revenues from local municipalities from the online GIS users. So they've received their first invoice last year and will be invoicing again this year in 2022 for accessing our interactive GIS site. So that's the big ticket item for the GIS divisional budget, Chair.
Any comments on the GIS? Just go back to the trail just for one moment. The 3.5 million, is that the end of the road? Is that complete the purchase to Mattawa? Are we got the thumbs up from the treasurer? That's a good sign.
Well, through you, Chair, not to interrupt Jeff, of course, it's our portion of the purchase of the trail between Chalk River and the township and the border of Mattawa, township of Papineau Cameron, sorry. So
that's all I'm worried about is our portion of the trail. Papineau Cameron, that's somebody else. They can deal with that, but that's what I was concerned about. Okay, so GIS, any questions on GIS? Okay, Jeb?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was actually going trail. I was just going to make my regular comment. That'd be nice to see that big bounce in Chalk River being spread out, and maybe I can come and visit you in Petawawa shortly.
Yeah, well, we're working on it. We're working on it. That's what that big number is that you see there for sure.
I know.
Okay, nothing on GIS. Okay. Then we will go to economic development. Where's, I'm looking on the screen here. Oh, there's Alistair. Alistair?
Thanks, Chair. I'm in the office cleaning up turtles left over from Christmas, so excuse me.
Turtles.
Chocolates.
Oh, chocolate. Okay. I thought there was, okay. All right, now I get you. Okay, go ahead. Thought you were getting a little heavy.
The economic development budget, pretty well, it goes status quo, sort of year to year. But right away, you see the lie in that when you look at the very top line. But please note that sort of $200,000 difference from 2021 to 2022, the decrease, it's not really real. If you look further down, you'll see that special projects, winter games at $200,000. So while the top number is really out of whack, it actually isn't. We look at the detailed numbers, nothing really unusual. Benefits up slightly, wages up slightly. Office expenses down, by a good jag by 25%. That's the indication that it's paper, printing, copying. We just aren't doing every year. It seems to be going down a little. You see our recoveries again. If we can probably, for the purposes of this, ignore the recoveries. The one large number of $1,300,000, that is again the Ontario Winter Games. and contribution from the province, the recovery from the province. So that's not really in this budget. And in fact, this might be a place for Craig or Jeff to step in, because I believe we've created a set of books for the games separate from economic development, just so the committee's aware of that. Am I saying that correctly, Jeff? Craig?
Yeah, I'll let Jeff take it, but he's got the way he's monitoring those funds. Perhaps Jeff wants to take that.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so in 2021, we had a resolution that allowed us to increase the tax levy by this $200,000 to support our bid for the all the preliminary work that had to be done to prepare for the Ontario Winter Games. And so council approved this $200,000 budget within the Economic Development Department in 2021. And of course, that also came with a resolution that said that any money that was unspent in 2021 would go into a reserve for the Ontario Winter Games, so that in 2022, we could use that to finance any shortfall. So the 1.3 million from the province, if there was any shortfall in provincial revenue to pay for this project, we would have that balance of funds that we could care for some of the expenditures. So of course, with the special meeting that's recently taken place, where we have deferred the Ontario Winter Games, I think that 1.3 million cost for 2022 budget and the 1.3 million in revenue can probably, this committee certainly could take the decision to remove both of those items with that council decision, and whatever I think we had spent up to about 45 or 50,000 into early December. So we should have about 150,000 sitting in that Ontario Winter Game Reserve. And certainly we can use that for some funds, if we were still covering some expenses in 2022, or because it's an in and an out, this committee can certainly leave those funds there because we certainly are looking at setting up the games. I believe the resolution was for 2023, not confirmed as yet, but I believe that's a resolution. So committee can go either way. We have our money will be set aside for our use, and we do have the provincial commitment, at least for 2022, for this line of revenue. Perhaps maybe Craig or Paul can share some updates on that, but that's it from a budget point of view.
Thank you, Jeff. Craig?
Yeah, I'm just going to confirm pretty much what Jeff said. Yeah, we are working with the province on that budget. We actually are more than that. Actually, we originally were granted from the province $1 million, $900,000 towards the games, $100,000 towards a legacy project. In October, November, the province then granted us an additional $400,000 to host the games during COVID times. So the number actually increased. What the chair Ima is and staff are working with the province is confirming that the minister and the province through the Treasury Board will provide those dollars to operate 2023 and move forward. I'll see clarification later. I believe the 300,000 or some portion was coming out of the funds for unexpected. Oh my gosh, that special fund, unexpected reserve. Oh my God, unallocated reserve. Jeff, was it not, or was that? It doesn't really matter. That was things in the past. Those are things that happened in 21. I'm not going to dwell on them. But I would suggest the same. We are going to be expending dollars to run the games throughout 2022. If it was looking for a staff recommendation, I will leave the dollar amount in here. It is in and out, and we'll leave it in there for 22 and then put it in again in 23 when we get to that point. Thanks, Paul. Provision for unallocated funds. Thanks.
Provision for unallocated expenditure. Yeah. There you go.
Anyway.
Any comments on that? Just leave it the way it is? Keep it in? Yep. It's there. We don't have to deal with it at a later date. Dan?
Well, that was what you don't see, you don't have to talk about, Chair. And I think if it's a line item, we're going to spend a lot of time on it at the budget workshop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, No further questions on that one. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the help. Just a couple other points in there, and it really is the COVID environment. We've been successful with a number of funding programs, and you'll see recoveries, provincial, and special projects. And what we've been unable to deliver things around Ride Shark. To this point as well, a winter demonstration of autonomous vehicle technology in association with Ride Shark, because we're relying on seniors and volunteers and citizens to be ride sharing, carpooling. So, but as far as we know from our funders, those funds are still standing there. They're playing, seem to be playing a hands-off game and letting everything sit and carry forward. So when we're able, we will deliver them. So there's just some of those funds there that weren't utilized in 21 and carrying forward into 22. And we do hope to deliver on those programs. It's not that we would, it's not county money that would be lost if they retract their funding, but so far there's no indications of that. That's an overview of the ECDEV budget, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any comments on economic development? Seeing none, then we'll go to enterprise Renfrew County. That's an in and an out thing, isn't it?
Thanks, Chair. And again, that budget you can see very level from year over year. In fact, it's kept pretty straightforward. We're delivering the same programs for the province of Ontario, Summer Company and Starter Company Plus. And then we deliver our general entrepreneurship broadly to anybody in the county who seeks our help, not within one of those programs. So from very simple consultation to spending much time with them developing a business plan, but outside Summer Company or Starter Company Plus. Again, you can see some of the costs have gone down on office expenses. Again, we're doing far less printing and processing, and we've been making our phone system a little more efficient. There's really nothing unusual in there. If you look back a few years further back to 2019, 2018, you'll see our travel budget was much higher. We really wanted our enterprise Renfrew County people on the road visiting businesses and entrepreneurs. And in COVID, that just isn't happening. And so we budgeted in 2022 to keep that level at that lower level, if you will. Chair, that's a quick overview.
Thank you. Enterprise Renfrew County, comments? Okay. The Tourist Association.
This is what you're seeing here, committee, is the very short county version of it. 3 lines really. And you'll notice a couple of things. This is salaries and benefits, our primary contribution to the OVTA, which is very significant. And you'll see that they've both have gone down slightly, and that's resulting from staffing changes. So while we're fully staffed, a full complement, we are a couple of newer staff at lower positions on the grid. So that's really the only difference there. And the detailed budget for OVTA committee and council will see that in the next 2 months, once it's been through the city of Pembroke for their review. County council has final review and approval of that budget. Chair, that's the OVTA.
Comments on OVTA? Seeing none, then we'll go to Bruce. Where are you, Bruce? Planning Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you'll see in our budget, there's pretty standard, pre-status quo. There's some changes as a result of us increasing our capacity for salaries and benefits, those types of things. Under municipal projects, there's an increased revenue. Those are the zoning bylaw projects that we've discussed earlier on today. And lastly, there's only one budget pressure that's sort of noted on there, and that's under revenue other. So in February, we will be bringing forward a proposed revised tariff of fee bylaw for the planning department. It's been about 3 years since that bylaw has been looked at. So it's time for a review of that and looking at our fees, but also there's been some recent changes to the Planning Act. And so there's new types of applications. So we have to have, mention those in the fee bylaw as well. And lastly, the $10,000 relates to, and Jeff can correct me on anything, but it's related to a proposed discussion on whether to charge for general. So right now, these general inquiries, they take up a significant amount of the county staff time, our planning staff's time, as we're preparing these responses. And right now there is no fee for that service. And it's that, so that $10,000 is a proposal to create a fee for those general inquiries. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any comments on that? Okay, haven't seen none. Back to you, Craig, I guess, to wrap up, and Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. One item of note is on page 20. It is a business case, it's a staffing report business case that would essentially remove the asset management coordinator position from the grid, reducing those hours. Count committee will remember me coming in front of committee and council last year that in order to essentially pay for the new planner, we took the hours and the funds from real estate and brought those funds over to planning. So this was I call it just a bookkeeping issue where we're just removing that asset management coordinator from our grid, that we wouldn't have it on the books, so to speak, to do what we are doing, what we said we do. Set business cases for you on page 20.
Any comments on that? Seeing none.
Chair, if I can, I'd just like to thank all the managers and Jeff and Paul for all the hard work on this budget. I think what we've done is create a good budget with a lot of work. Looking forward to 2022. There's a lot of items to be done with a small budget comparatively to perhaps Mr. Perkins overall, but we anticipate a lot of great activities moving forward from this department. Albeit there are some pressures that we'll bring forward to council next week. And would open it up to questions of committee and or of Mr. Foss. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have to compliment them. I go back to item page 7 of the general revenue. The variance is 1.2. That's well within the 2.5 that has been approved, but it's not actually 1.2. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I think I think this deserves some discussion because it looks like we've got a little bit of room in Craig's department because the target that was set for all areas was 2.5% operating expenditure over and above last year. And of course, it appears as Craig is coming in well under that and only about half of that allowance. So the question is, well, why can't we beef up Craig's budget a little bit to really kind of reflect some things that he'd like to do that maybe he can't afford to do. So I just really, there's only a couple of items that really need to be adjusted to get that 1.2% in a different perspective. So for the year 2021, the total that you'll see for all of the development and property committee budgets, the net county cost at $2,367,000. I should point you toward the page reference. That's page 7 of your package. You'll see 2021 is $2.367 million. But recall that we had a special one-time enhancement, if you will, of $200,000 for the Ontario Winter Games. And of course, in order to kind of look at a comparison, apples to apples, 2021 to 2022, we need to remove that $200,000 because there is no net cost in 2022 budget to compare. So really, we should be looking at a revised $2,167,000 in the 2021 year. And then the $2,396,000 is really a number that's lower than it should be. Because as I mentioned, all of those departments where we closed offices in Pembroke have now moved into this building. And Craig's department, the county admin building, is showing $191,000 more revenue than he had in 2021. But that revenue is earmarked to go back into reserves to pay for the financing of this project. So really that $2,396,000 number, if I compare it apples to apples, should really be $2,587,000, adjusting for those two things, the revenues in 2022 and the Ontario Winter Games in 2021. So the net cost of those two items are an increase of 19.3%. And that's not something that is really something that's within Craig's control. That entire increase of 19% is reflective of that $400,000 in the trail budget. Recall that in 2021, we passed a resolution to go ahead and complete Part A of the $4 million trail redevelopment. We had a $2 million allowance in 2021 that wasn't budgeted. And so we didn't get it all done in 2021. There's still $400,000 left to go on some of the commitments that we've made on finishing that trail, I guess, up to the Pembroke area. And so that 400,000 is included in Craig's budget in the 2022 year. So there's three unusual items: Ontario Winter Games in 2021, extra revenue in 2022, and then this $400,000 of last year's unbudgeted trail redevelopment that is really impacting Craig's department. If we back out all of those things, Ontario Winter Games, extra revenue, and this extra trail money, Craig is actually a net minus 1% expenses year over year if we don't account for all of these unusual items. So it's a little bit complicated. It's not really in black and white, but to do an apples to apples comparison, those are really three reconciling items that really present, Craig has really had to hold the line, essentially staying at a no change budget if we adjust for these three pretty significant and unusual items. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. So the 1.2 is really not 1.2. It isn't. When I first saw that, I thought, well, thank you, Paul. You could say thanks to Development and Property for assisting to help other departments within the county of Renfrew meet their objectives of 2.5, and we're pleased to do that. That's when I first saw that. But I see you're sort of shaking your head a little bit. Not in your head, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't some money left on the table that we could utilize as the other thing that I saw when I first looked at that. So to the explanation, very convoluted explanation, but it's clear, and to Jeff, I understand that, and I'm sure to Craig, but nonetheless, thank you for that explanation, and I'll leave it up to you to take that to County Council or to the budget workshop to explain that one, because I would not either dare go down that road, that's for sure. No, having said all that, Paul, what is it, or Craig, what is it you want me to do now, just to?
You have original, so Chair, you do have original.
The budget workshop, that's what you want?
The original recommendation that, as I could read it, the draft 2022 Development and Property Department budget be approved by this committee and forwarded to the January 17th, 2022 County Council Budget Workshop for approval.
Got it. Okay, need a mover and a seconder, please. Kathy and Jeb, any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It is carried. Good job. Yeah, it's an ambitious plan when you look at it, but a job well done to Craig and his team and all the managers. It looks like a very, very busy year with some of the initiatives, the aims, the goals, the objectives that are contained within this budget. So good job. Let's see how that all unfolds at the budget workshop. So job well done to each and every one of you. Thank you for that. With that, where are we now?
Report as a whole, Chair.
The report as a whole, yes. I need a mover to accept that.
I believe you have a couple hands up, Chair.
I beg your pardon?
I believe there's a couple councillors with hands up.
Oh, pardon me. Who had their hands up then? Dan, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just we had a recommendation that we're getting rid of the asset management. There was a recommendation. Is that part of the report?
It forms part of that budget recommendation, Councillor Lynch. Yes.
Thank you.
Who else had their hand up? Nobody?
No, I guess.
Sorry. Sorry, then I need to.
So are we on to new business, Chair?
No, not yet. No, I've got to report I got to get a mover and a seconder to accept the report as a whole. Mover and a seconder. So I get Jeb and Sheldon. All in favor? It is carried. Okay, so now we're on to new business. Any new business? Dan?
Thank you, Chair. Part of the Ontario government has said that thinking of sending the fax to the Ontario government, the Ontario blah, 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 blah. Anyways, starting 2022, 1,500 telephone fax lines will no longer be available for the province's civil servants. So maybe we'll be saving some paper on our faxes. Thanks.
Oh, there you go. Okay, further new business. You see none. I see that we have some business enclosed. I need to move on a seconder to go into close. It's for information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or a crown agency, or all of them, in brackets, the Algonquin Trail, and B, for the purpose of litigation or potential litigation, including matters from administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, Renfrew County place lease. I need a mover and a seconder to go into close, please. Dan and Kathy, all in favor? It is carried. So now we're So thank you very much. We're back in here. We have a recommendation. I need a mover and a seconder that the Development Property Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw to enter into a contribution agreement between the County of Renfrew and the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation for the review as a condition of the successful Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP grant for the rehabilitation of the Algonquin Trail. We've seen the background on that. I need a mover and a seconder to accept that. Peter, seconded by Dan. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. With that, there's nothing else. I need a motion to adjourn, please. Kathy, seconded by Jeb. All in favor? It is carried. Thank you very much. We are out of here.